Hello, world. This is 3BetterThan2 podcast. We're back. It's spring. Weather is great. So we got Andrew on the podcast. He's been coaching for a while. He was a college player. Recently got done with playing. Got into coaching. He's also assistant athletic director at Lake Forest Academy. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how's coaching for you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this podcast. It's great to be here. I'm Andrew Amft-Reyes. I graduated from Colby College in 2023. I was Lake Forest Academy graduate in 2018 as well. I played basketball at Colby for 3 years, then decided to stop playing because I had a whole list of injuries and kind of just needed to take a step away from basketball for a little while. But after I graduated, had a degree that I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do with, so just used my time to start working in schools, coaching, training, and eventually got back connected with Full Package and started coaching there in the spring of 2024. And yeah, been here ever since. Been coaching Lake Forest Academy for the past 3 years now, and just got hired in a full-time role as assistant athletic director and assistant director to auxiliary programs. So
Nice.
Lots of time at Lake Forest Academy.
I really like the way you connect with players. I feel like you have a really good connection with players and everybody, like even new guys. You always exchange numbers, and then you just always have extra time for workout. They all show up, and I really love that about you. How did that come in a way? Can you tell us?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first started playing basketball, I was one of the worst kids out there. I didn't make my middle school team until I was in 8th grade. And even then, I kind of was just taken by default. I was the biggest kid in my grade. So coach was just like, got to take him. But yeah, so after my 8th grade season, I started taking basketball a lot more serious. I stopped playing baseball, and I decided to fully commit myself to trying to get better at basketball. I had a trainer. His name is Mike Boyd. He works out in Phoenix, Arizona now, coaches at Pinnacle High School, and I'm still really connected with him, talk to him every week or so. He kind of took me under his wing, and he saw that there was some basketball potential in me and started training me, bringing me to workouts, bringing me to certain like high school league games, men's league games, just so I could get a whole bunch of reps and just going against bigger, older, stronger guys. And I was always really appreciative of that because I think it put me in a better direction given what I was doing outside of basketball as well. So I kind of used that in my whole journey when it came to high school stuff, still developing, still trying to be a better player than I was previously throughout the 5 years I had in high school because I repeated as well. I see a lot of that in kids who are trying to get better, trying to make something of themselves as a basketball player, whether it's just making their varsity team, being a college player, whatever goal that they have. And I was in that position at some point where a lot of people didn't believe in me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give some of these kids something to believe in and help them out where I can, make sure everyone's accounted for, making sure everyone's cared for in an equal way. So yeah, that's kind of why I do what I do and how I do it. Because
I feel like you're doing a great job with that.
Yeah, I think something that you're really good at is like being your authentic self. Like you're not trying to be anyone else. Like you got Gengar in your office and you're proud of that. You like were really big into fashion when you first got here, and you're wearing some suspect shoes, and you're just like, it is what
I always
it is.
wear suspect shoes.
And it's like, it just makes like
That's you.
anyone comfortable like being themselves when you're around. So that's like really like the new kids are like, okay, he could be who he wants to be, so I could be in this and be comfortable as well. So I think that's like really helps you connect with like any type of person that walks into gyms.
Yeah,
and that's a great point.
Yeah, and to that point, definitely went through my own sort of identity crisis. Like Lewis Walker could definitely tell you some funny stories when it comes to that specific point. But yeah, there's a whole idea of basketball of being comfortable, being uncomfortable, but also if you're kind of just comfortable in yourself, then that confidence skyrockets. You're able to do a lot more things. You're able to get more or the most out of what you're trying to do at the end of the day. Basketball, inside of basketball, outside of basketball, whatever it is.
What are your maybe best stories from the days you play in full package and Colby College.
Okay, I'll just go one or the other. So in full package, I would say it's definitely when I came back to full package the summer going into my junior year at LFA. So I spent 3 years at Lake Zurich High School. Then I decided to transfer and repeat my junior year. So I was with Hoop Avenues, who it was Stacey Marini was my coach. So was Nikas Main. They were both full package guys that kind of just took our team to another program. There was always good relationship there. I always knew full package would be there for me. So I played there with them, then realized it wasn't the best fit for me. I thought I would do better going back to full package. So decided to come back, and Dmitry was my head coach with Brandon, Sam with the cam. I'm forgetting Sam's last name, but
Mitchell.
Yeah, Sam Mitchell. They were my coaches, and it was just a really good summer with a really good group of guys that I had seen in the past and still say what up to every so often. Jackson Qualley, Sambit Ram, Sungmin, Skylar Kuninega, and all the Lincoln Park boys that always
Johnny Koenig.
Yeah, Johnny Koenig. And that was one of those times where it was like, I truly felt like, oh, these guys got my back. And I know the next year I left full package again to go to a different program. I ended up coming back again. So that's one thing I could always say, that the people at full package always had my best interest in mind, whether it was Dmitry, Walker, Steve Pratt, all the guys that were there at that point. So
I remember a funny story. We were playing in that Roosevelt Dome. They have a live event there, I remember. And we were beaten up on a Jass team. He was actually a good player. So we're beaten up on the Jass. And then he like tried to fight everybody. Then he like, I found out that he was trying to find where you live and like try to pull up and beat you up. And then you go to the next season, you go to Right Way Athletics, and then he's on the team, and we all kind of laugh about it. It's like, oh yeah, now from not liking each other, you guys are teammates.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting time, because we both said some interesting things to each other that definitely we shouldn't repeat. But
yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, we squashed that beef when we were on the same team the next year. It was cool. I mean, he's doing what he's doing, so congrats to him. He's made a huge following for himself. So
yeah. What was about Colby? Like, what was your most memorable moment there?
My most memorable moment. So that my whole college career was just plagued with injuries. I blew out my shoulder 2, maybe even 3 times. I slipped a disc in my back. It was a whole bunch of stuff. But the most memorable was I first got to practice, I think 3 weeks into the season, because that's when I was like cleared to start running, doing stuff again. Actually, I have two memories now. So first one was in practice, first play. People didn't realize that, and I'm going to be tooting my own horn here, but I was pretty athletic.
You're still bouncy.
Yeah, no, that's still my goal for the next at least 10 years of my life, being able to dunk. But people didn't realize that I was pretty athletic, especially going right, jumping off my left leg. So we're in kind of a shell defense, 5-on-5 type thing, but offense is still trying to score. And we're working on switching up on screens like we do with full package. So defense, just terrible job switching. They didn't even switch. They just stuck to the guy who was sending me a ball screen. So I take it down in the middle, cock it back, and I just finish on one of my teammates' heads. It was just like, he was right underneath me. I probably had my whole forearm over the rim. It was nasty. I was arguably one of the best dunks I've had in my life. So everyone was super excited for me, very hyped up. The coaches, their jaws dropped. They didn't realize they could do that. And also coming off a slip disc in my back, it was pretty surprising that I was still able to do that, just like right off rip. So that was really nice. Yeah. And
right to the ice bath right after that.
Oh, 100%. It was just like I was stiff the very next day. But the best in-game memory that I had was the first time that I was able to suit up and do warm-ups. I really didn't have any practices in which we ran plays, and I was kind of like out there like, okay, I'll figure it out one way or another. And eventually when I got put into the game, I realized I was like, oh, I don't know a single thing that we're doing. And I should have paid a lot more attention to practice, even though I was on the sideline. I was like, all right, thought for next practice. But I get in the game, then I shoot a step back 3 and I'm like, oh, this is so good. This is so good. Air ball. It was bad. Definitely a bad shot. But then the very next possession, I get open again from 3 and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to shoot it. Nothing but net, water. And the one thing that I did on the sideline, even though when I was injured, I wasn't able to suit up, me and all my bench friends, we had like just egregious 3-point celebrations, or anytime something went well, we were just acting a fool on the sideline. So in game, I did that, and I make eye contact with my coach. He laughs and he smiles, and I was like, okay, this actually made me feel good.
He laughed, smiled, and he went.
Yeah. No, I didn't get subbed out. It was towards the end of the game. We were also blowing the team out, so that's how I got the playing time. But that was a really nice memory because it was like, oh, I remember that I'm a basketball player. I know what I can do. Even though I should pay better attention to what we're trying to do, I can still accomplish something even when everything's hitting the fan.
Since we kind of went this way, what are the which we always ask the question of to get you to understand better. So what a cartoon, book, or TV character is most that like you? Like, what do you think?
That is...
It's like the perfect question for you, especially. So.
Yeah, and there's so many. I'm gonna struggle to answer this one because there's so many ways you can think about it. But I'll go back to my roots. Pokemon is one of my favorite things in the world. Still, I'm 26 years old, but I still play on my Nintendo Switch anytime I can. I play Pokemon Go. It's all that stuff. I was one of those kids back in elementary school that was super enamored in just like not only Pokemon itself, but the culture that came behind it, the illustrations, like the lore that came with certain books, certain movies, all that stuff. So,
any good Pokemons on a LFA campus?
Oh, I've caught some legendaries and shinies around here. Yeah, no, this place is loaded. Seriously. Well, kids still play here. And the way Pokemon Go works, the more players that you have in a certain area, the more concentrated Pokemon will show up. But a lot of people, if they're characterizing themselves as a Pokemon character, they would talk about Ash Ketchum. But I think I'm more of like a Brock because...
Is it like a little ball with a fist?
No, that's Geodude. That's Geodude that evolves into Graveler, and then Golem is like
who's Brock?
So Brock
Ash's best friend.
Yeah, Brock is one of Ash's best friends that goes with him throughout the journey, throughout the first few generations of Pokemon. But his whole thing is that he's not so much a Pokemon trainer, more so he's like a caregiver to Pokemon, and he really shows that like compassion goes a long way. And I kind of apply that to dealing with people in general, because there's certain points in my life where I thought just being tough and angry was the way to go. But no, it's like being a person who listens, who's empathetic, who can understand where people are coming from, and also like give them certain ways of thinking based on how I feel about things, how I view certain things. That's what I kind of try to accomplish and carry. And I think Brock does a good job of like personifying and humanizing the Pokemon, opposed to them just being things that you take in a battle and you try to beat someone with.
I feel like that's a great way to put it. Like that. Every time I think of Pokemons is that interview when the guy's like just purposely doing it wrong, and this girl in the background
it's
like it's a bee.
Yeah,
it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. But then it gets Pikachu, and he's like, oh no, that's Pikachu right there.
Right. So I always think that for me, that's Pokemon. You got anything with that?
No, not off that.
Tell me this, because you do basketball coaching and part of the athletic director. What are the difference in job? What are the similarities? What can you apply? Because it's always fascinating, like people who do that are really good in communicating, and they're really good at like discipline and scheduling and stuff. So what do you think?
So I think, well, the major difference for me is that basketball is done in a gym and my assistant athletic director job is done in my office. So that's like the biggest physical difference behind it. I would say they're honestly very similar in the fact that, as you just said, organization is a huge thing. You can think of that in how I'm putting together schedules for certain athletic teams here, how we have to be compliant with certain IHSA rules versus non-IHSA rules. and kind of making sure we're on top of our stuff and not for like leaving anything behind. And the same thing can go towards basketball. Like, for example, me and Billy for our 17s practice, that we even did this last year for 16s, we would have a very in-depth conversation of like what we were trying to accomplish for that night of practice, what kind of drills, actions that we would do to ensure that we're getting that stuff done. And even when I was coaching with LFA, Kuntz introduced this to me. Coach Kyle Kuntz at LFA, he's the head coach at this establishment. But he taught me that organizing a practice and having ideas down is the best way to kind of manage time in whatever space that you're in. Even if you kind of go off script and figure out something else that you need more and it's a better situation in that time of practice, it's always good to have your ideas and thoughts figured out and written down so you can actually remember what you're trying to accomplish. And because a lot of times for me, I get very sped up in basketball. My thoughts are kind of going all over the place and I'm trying to hone in on something, and just having it written down of like, this is what we're trying to do. That's very helpful. So yeah, I would say that there's more similarities than differences between the two things that I do.
Yeah. What are your like major tasks you do as the assistant athletic director? Because like obviously the athletic director's like role is everything. So what do you kind of take off the athletic director's plate? And
yeah, for sure. So major things is scheduling games for certain athletic teams and organizing their practice spaces. Me and the other assistant athletic director here, Annie Gifford, we split up the teams based on the season, and we're the ones that are in charge of connecting with other schools, figuring out what days are best for games, balancing home and away games, making sure that we have enough conference games in the ISL for us to be like viable and be able to compete for that title. That's one of the main things. Another main thing I do around here is that I'm in charge of all of our uniforms and equipment inventory, which, given how many teams we have, how many athletes are at this school, it's quite extensive, and it's been a real roller coaster of me trying to figure out the most efficient way of doing things. But I think I've got a good grasp on distribution, keeping track of stuff, keeping track of kids, making sure they're not losing any of their stuff. Because one of my least favorite things I have to do here is charge the kids for losing a uniform. Because at the end of the day, it's being organized. It's making sure you're on top of your stuff, right, knowing where your stuff is. So that's what I use that as a teaching point. And day-to-day operations, like today, for example, I have to go set up lacrosse games. In season for basketball, we set up all the home competitions, making sure the practices are set up the way they need to for all teams and things of that nature.
Since we talk about lacrosse and other sports, what do you think we can translate to basketball? What you can learn from other sports? And maybe you already did learn something from lacrosse.
Yeah, so in preface to that, I'm an assistant varsity lacrosse coach for the boys team at LFA as well. When I was first assigned that job, I was kind of concerned because I'm like, I do not know anything about lacrosse, but lacrosse and basketball are shockingly similar. And it's funny because I was told that by a lacrosse player when I was 13 years old. He was trying to get me to play lacrosse. He was 2 years older than me and trying to get me to play at Lake Zurich. I'm like, nah, I don't think it's for me. I just don't really want to play. But coaching, there's so many things that are the same. There's zone offense, there's zone defense. You set ball screens, you pick and roll. You can set off ball screens. There's just more players, and then there's a goalie. I genuinely think that's the only difference. Oh, and a couple of rules like offsides and how you do subs is different, but that's
offense, defense.
Yeah, I'm still learning that part. But
in the warehouse defense, we have goalie.
Yeah, seriously. But no, I think the main thing that you can learn from other sports, not just lacrosse, is how the body moves. I think there's an efficient way of doing everything, whether it's running, lateral movements, doing things backwards. It's all about kind of strengthening your lower body and your core and increasing your athleticism. That kind of benefits everything else. So someone who runs track, they're probably really good at explosive speed, but maybe not for a distance. A cross-country runner is someone who can go a really long time, but maybe it doesn't seem like they're running as hard. Then let's say we put a hockey player into basketball. They're really good at side-to-side movement because that's how they have to move on the ice. And the way that they bounce off is like essentially running almost like pigeon-toed, but they're able to stay low in a quote-unquote defensive stance because they have that type of strength. So there's a lot of different things that you can learn from one sport and apply to the other. And I think that's what's really nice about just athletics in general, is that given that there's different rules and things, at the end of the day, an athlete is being an athlete. They're applying their athleticism towards something else.
Well, what's the last time you play? When was it last time?
Basketball?
Yeah.
Last week.
And I know you play with players a lot or open gyms. I like that. I always think that coaches should do that until they cannot do it no more.
Yeah. And honestly, I do it because A, it keeps me in shape, and B, I love talking mess to my players. I love challenging them. I love telling them, like, hey, if I'm beating you, that's an issue. I'm 26 years old and I'm washed, and you're trying to be a college basketball player. You need to be able to beat me every single time. And if they don't, then it makes me feel great about myself. Like Tommy Moffitt, for example, when I beat him in ones 2 weeks ago, he was, calling you out, Tommy. He was the most angry I've ever seen in his life.
Angry Moffitt.
Yeah, seriously. And like, I beat him in two different facets. It was transition ones, and I beat him in face up. And right afterwards, when we break to go get water, he comes up to me, dead face. He's like, "We're running that back." And I started laughing. I'm just like, "Tommy, I love this. This is great."
That's good.
And he ended up beating me again, or beating me for the first time. And like, he had a great rest of his practice, because I think he's so competitive that he used it as a fuel.
Yeah,
he used losing as a fuel to make sure he was on top of his stuff the rest of practice. And yeah, shout out to Tommy Moffitt.
That's pretty good. I know you're a young coach. What is your most memorable transformation? Or maybe you saw a player near you when you were playing.
That's tough, because I've seen a lot, and even though I've only been coaching for 3 years, I've seen a lot of players just kind of take the right step forward, even if it's not exactly a basketball thing, maybe like a life development thing. Two things that I can think of is Evan Wittig, who was one of those players
that's a great story.
He was one of those players who, when he started out, we had to set him to the other side of the court to play ones against
D Rose.
Yeah, D Rose, some other kid who just wasn't very good, because like, he just needed to build skill. He needed to build confidence. He needed in-game reps. And as I said earlier in the podcast, I saw a lot of myself trying to be a basketball player in him. And I was like, I'm going to make sure this kid makes it. And he didn't become a college player or anything. He made his varsity team. His coach had nothing but good things to say about him.
He started some games. And
And I saw the change in him. He just became a happy, confident, young basketball player that it was just great to see. And even his dad sent me some messages saying, quote unquote, words cannot describe how appreciative we are of you in full package. And that was one of those things that was just like, this is all worth it.
Right.
Like, accolades aside, everything else aside, like, seeing someone become happy, that it makes everything worth it. And I guess
valuable. I mean, he was valuable for his team.
Yeah.
I went to games in June. Like, he started some, and the kids voted for him to start.
Yeah, I remember Coach Fisher telling us about that. That was great. And the other point, and I'm gonna remember this for the rest of my life. I was talking with Andreas Malamis when he was trying out with 17s last year, not this past spring, but spring of 2025. And he came up to me after the tryouts and he said, "Andrew, I just want to let you know I was considering quitting basketball altogether, but I wanted to play AAU again because you were the coach." And I asked him, "Well, what do you mean by that?" He's like, "I just wanted to play for you because you're a good person, and I really like that." And I haven't had happy tears really ever in my life, but I'm going to be honest, I shed a tear after he said that.
And guess what? he's coaching youth now.
Yeah, no, he's paying it back because I know basketball did a lot of things for him, and we were there for him, and he wants to be there for other players as well.
Yeah. You got any? Man. We kind of always talk about development versus winning. What are your take on it? What do you think?
It's funny because like in the coaching sense, it's development wins every single day. But when I'm playing, I want to win every single game that I play. And I still get pissed off. I get salty about certain things. I'm like, oh, we could have done this better. And this is me playing. And like, especially so runs, for example, last week when I was playing at LFA, we like Botan didn't catch a pass that I threw him. And I thought it was an absolute dime. And in game, I'm just like, Botan, catch the ball. I said some choice words with it too. But
please.
Yeah. Please catch the ball. But afterwards, we ended up losing that game. I pulled everyone in together and I just started coaching them because I'm like, boys, I know we can be better than this. We have to do X, Y, and Z to get there. I'll take onus on that too. I was playing, we lost. Let's make sure we win the next game. And we ended up winning probably 3 games in a row, lost again, end of the night, whatever. But in moment when I'm playing, it's I want to win. But seeing guys get better and developing, even if it's one minute thing for that day, it's good to see. That's what we're striving for. We can be a certain type of program that always recruits players every single weekend, day, whatever, to make sure that we're winning and getting like dashes in the WCOM or whatever. But I think our like program identity is making sure kids get better at what they're trying to do.
I'm with you. If you can be assistant coach to any coach in the world, girls, boys, NBA, college, high school, who would it be?
Right off the bat, because the most recent book that I read was Joe Mazzulla, like autobiography. It was about 70 pages long, but it was just kind of like describing his childhood and stuff like that. It'd be Joe Mazzulla. It's funny, right before this, I was scrolling through Instagram. And yeah, twins. I was scrolling through Instagram and there was a clip of, I forget which player it was, but Celtics were beating the Hornets by 16 points with 54 seconds left in the game. Like, Hornets just kind of gave up as well. Mazzulla started yelling at one of his players who didn't even attempt to block LaMelo Ball when he went in for a layup because there was a timeout, like the game was stopped for some reason. And he's yelling at his players saying, where's the effort? Contested the rim, stuff of that. He obviously said some other things as well, but you can read his lips in the video. And as much of a laid back and chill person that I am, I love the intensity that some coaches bring. He's always serious and on top of what he's trying to do and accomplish for his team as the leader, the coach. And I think it'd be really interesting just to kind of pick apart his brain and see what he does, like from a firsthand perspective. But yeah, the intensity is great there. And I would say the second person, because he was my trainer when I was younger, and my quote unquote mentor right now is Steve Pratt. I'd love to be on Steve's bench just to kind of see how he does. I understand he doesn't really head coach things much anymore, but seeing what he does in girls' practices, I'm like, oh, I can definitely take a lot of things away from
he
that.
Can come to your bench and head coach over you if you want to. You can just ask him.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to happen, but no. And Steve's done a lot for me just as a person, and very appreciative of Steve Pratt being in my life.
Who are the coaches that influence you in your coaching and your view, maybe style, through a few years of your coaching?
First and foremost, all the full package coaches around me. You, Coach Dylan, Billy, Jordan Johnson, Brandon Young for sure. Actually, a couple weeks ago when we were at Waukegan Fieldhouse and Brandon was on my bench, I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. He's helping me out. He's helping me see things that I don't necessarily see because I'm very focused on one detail. And I'm just like, I told him after the game, I'm like, Brandon, that was amazing that you were there. And I want you at every single one of my games. Granted, he's got his own stuff to deal with
Right.
now. Yeah, having a family and all that. But I was like, Brandon, I'm so thankful that you were there, because as much as I can like focus on in a game, having someone there who has like real eyes for the sport of basketball, it's the most beneficial thing you can think of.
Now he knows why he was with me for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
He's great.
Kyle Kuntz too. He's here at LFA. He was my coach my senior year, and I've been one of his assistants the past 3 years. I learned a lot from the organizational standpoint, the like kind of calmness and poise that a head coach should have in game, even when stuff isn't going your way. Also like how to communicate effectively with players. I learned that from him, Steve, Dmitry. And I think I always tell Steve about this too, because this is one of my favorite parts, full package. Me, Billy, Dmitry, no, not Dmitry. Me, Billy, and Jordan. There was this one time where we were over in Fort Wayne, and we stayed up till maybe like 3 or 4 in the morning, just watching and analyzing film from our games the day before. And I was like, this could have been one of the most effective things that I've done as a basketball coach, is just breaking down stuff, having multiple eyes on one screen, seeing things from different angles. Like, granted, I was tired as heck the next morning, but we had games probably at like 10 a.m. I'm like, okay, that's a good 5 hours. I can manage that. But we ended up having a really successful tournament, and all the coaches were involved. Everyone was there. It was combining our 16U teams, and I was like, this is great. This is one of those coaching things that I'll always remember.
Yeah. You got anything?
No.
What if you describe perfect basketball? What would that be for you?
Perfect basketball to me is like it's combining the whole developing aspect of basketball while also competing your hearts out and hopefully winning. But at the end of the day, being better than you were when you were stepping out on the court, being better than you were in the first half, being better than you were in the third quarter, the overall idea is ending better than you were. Even if it's a loss at the end of the day, it's just like, this is what it means to develop as a basketball player. And you use those ideas to develop in a human being as well. In like a perfect situation, we make every single shot in the game. We get every sort of defensive stop, then you beat the team 100-0. That's quote unquote perfect basketball. But there's never going to be a time where everything completely goes your way, but it's how you can handle that adversity, how you can handle that pressure, how you can flip it to make sure the tables turn in your favor, and kind of just carrying yourself with like a certain level of confidence and quote unquote professionalism that leads you into having perfect basketball.
Yeah. What since you mentioned Missoula book, are there any books that you would suggest to read to other players or coaches?
That was the most recent book that I read, and that was probably back in January. So I'm not the biggest reader, but there's certain articles that I found super interesting. One that had to do with how communication is perceived in different ways based on who the person is. And it's all about tone, delivery, kind of your overall demeanor and when you're trying to communicate with someone. And it, like, the whole article dives into certain aspects of like being more so like a leader versus a communicator versus a listener versus a follower. And there's good things about every single one of them. There's also things that are probably not so great about every single one of them. But if you're able to take those 4 ideas and kind of combine them into your being, then that's what makes an effective. Like,
do you remember what was the article name or where?
I don't
find it.
I don't remember the name of the article, but I know it was on AP News. So you could definitely find it in my search history and send it through, but
Gotcha.
Something along those lines. It may have been effective communicating the rhyme and reason behind how we talk, something like that. No.
ABC rhymes.
Yeah, seriously.
With that, then, is there anything you're studying right now or try to learn at this moment?
I've been watching a whole bunch of clips from the NCAA tournament. And also I love watching EuroLeague basketball because I think I love the competitive nature behind stuff. Like whole cities are kind of just behind these clubs and the environment looks astounding. And I'd love to go watch one of those games in person. But also the actions that they run offensively, defensive schemes, they seem very simple, but they're so layered that at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we're trying to find a great shot, whether it's right in the beginning of possession or we're waiting all the way to the final like 3 seconds. So that's like high IQ basketball that I'm trying to instill in my players here, is finding a great shot. Granted, we have some very, very good basketball players that can create for their own, but you can't win a game 1v5. You should be able to create for others as well.
That's interesting. Have you been working on something new like that, like applying to your coaching or your studying? And
yeah, I guess in like a microcosm of my coaching being or whatever, that my 17U team, there's certain actions that I've been trying to run that they start out as quote unquote sets, but it's just like, okay, you guys get into these spots, figure it out from there. Like one of the actions that I ran, or that I still run, I got it from Florida because it just started out in a certain way and I call it stick. I'm like, okay, it's just a pass, dribble, handoff at the top of the key. Well, probably like 4 or 5 feet in front of the top of the key. Then you have a guy in the dunker spot, you have an away screen, you have a guy running the corner, and it's all for the guard to really figure it out. So if defense doesn't switch, he has a drive. If the big help side comes up, he has a lob to the rim. If corner guy helps down, he has a kick out to the corner, or he can drive and go finish at the rim. And also with the away screen, you can turn around and you have a shooter at the top of the key. So it's like there's multiple ideas that you can draw from that. And I'm kind of instilling like, okay, you set up in this certain way, it's your ball.
Yeah. So it's kind of option offense.
Yeah. And we do that with other things like our circle action. There's some times that have quick hitters, and I love certain plays that we run. But a lot of times it's like that development aspect comes with like, okay, you guys go out there and hoop. Let's figure it out.
Circle Hawaii.
Yeah, circle Hawaii.
What are the new things coming to basketball you think that may be drastic in the future? I know Illinois start doing a shot clock next year. Yeah. We have been doing shot clock, for all the games possible. But are there any other new things coming in?
I don't really think so much that's specific to Illinois, whereas it's just like in basketball in general. I've heard this on your podcast from other people as well. I think Billy mentioned this as well. The whole idea of positionless basketball. There's people who are just bigger guards versus bigger wings versus smaller wings. All kind of has to do with what are we going to do to be the most effective that we can. 16U, for example, they don't have, or 16 Black, they don't have a quote unquote big. They kind of just run with guards and wings, and they're trying to learn how to be effective that way. Granted, it's going to take some time for them to learn, get some more physicality, get stronger, figure out
soft.
Yeah, exactly. Figuring out how they can be successful that way. But then LFA, for example, with Botan and Landon, 2 guys that are 6'9", one's an athletic bouncy wing, the other one is more of a back to the basket type of big. It's like,
which one?
He did get called high IQ yesterday.
He did. Somebody did say Botan was high IQ. Benji.
Oh, interesting.
He was smiling.
Yeah, I bet that all went to Botan's
That was the first. He's about to apply for the coaching staff here.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, the whole idea of just get in a spot. If you're effective from that spot, let's take advantage of it. If not, let's move around, figure out spacing, how we can be effective in that sense.
What does a good coach means? And do you think you are the one?
I think a good coach, there's a couple things that a good coach would need. First and foremost, it's being able to connect and care about your players. basketball is only going to last a certain amount of time for some players, and who aren't going to get into coaching afterwards, who are just going to completely step away from the game altogether. You can use basketball to teach someone how to be a human being, how to be a caring, compassionate, someone who cares for others, but the vehicle to deliver that message is basketball. Another way of looking at it is someone who can get the most out of their players. Granted, if they're the most skilled players, most IQ, the least skilled, least IQ, a good coach is someone who can make the most out of any situation, even if they're losing, like turning into a learning moment. How we can use this loss or these mistakes to better prepare ourselves for the future. Another way of looking at it is just one who knows how to win given any situation, the circumstances, the adversity that one may face. But I think a great coach is someone who can use all of that, combine it together, and just be the most effective that you can. Because I would say I lean towards more of the compassion side behind basketball. I care for human beings. Basketball players, they just play a sport. I see a person behind that. It's all about how you kind of just develop someone into being a person. As I said, using basketball as the vehicle for it.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned film too a little bit. How do you break it? Like, what do you watch? What are you looking for in there?
Oh, and film. So I was talking to Steve about this the other day because I took some of our games from this past weekend of Recruit Looks. I threw them on YouTube just so guys have access to them. Some may not have the Baller TV account. I like breaking it down in which like it's very equal. So like, let's look at our good things. Let's say it's 5 good things. And let's say we have 5 things we extremely need to work on. Right off the bat for 3BetterThan2, our switches need to be better. Our rotations on defense need to be better. And our communication needs to be better. That's what we stressed at our practice on Tuesday. And I think we accomplished a good deal of that. Granted, we need to do some more of it tonight and make sure we're on point for this weekend because it's only going to get tougher for us going forward. But yeah, that's how I would break down film. Finding the good things, equaling it out with the things you need to work on, and then using those ideas to how you can have the most effective practice in the next one.
Going back a little bit to the good coach thing, we've had a discussion on the girls group chat about how can a good coach make it a good situation if you're like 3-27, whereas a lot of people think that winning has to be a part of like a team's camaraderie, success, and like meaningful to the season. So how can a good coach make a 3-27 season successful?
I think at that point, given that, so let's say it's a public school sense and playoffs are just around the corner. I think the best thing to do is to ensure in the last few games that you have, the players are developing in at least one skill to make them better for the future and make sure they're having fun. Because like you can write off a season completely and just completely check out as a coach. But if you're in the coaching role, your players deserve your full effort. So if I was in that situation, like one of my first games I ever coached for full package, at one point it was 42-0 and I was on the losing end of that game. I didn't stop coaching. I didn't stop trying to give guys things to work on to try to figure out in the game. Granted, it was tough. There were some parents yelling at me and Big Mark, but there's never an instance where a coach should just give up.
Right.
Yeah. And whether it's a 3-27 season or whether you're down 42-0, a good coach would never give up. They'd always try to make something out of anything.
That's a good answer. How do you measure progress, and what are the tangible things that you trace or you would trace?
I think tracking progress is pretty subjective when it comes to each player. the compassion side behind me is thinking, oh, how can you make sure that they're having a good time, making the most of the effort that they're putting in, whether it's good, whether they need to work on their effort, things of that nature. But then there's certain tangible things that you can look at, like effective shot percentage, finishing percentage at the rim, rebounds per game versus rebounds that were let up in a game, if you're talking a team aspect. I think like huddle assist, for example, is a great way of tracking tangible statistics and see if we're getting better, because the way that software is set up, it shows you your progressions and certain statistics going up, going down as the season progresses. So that's like a tangible way of looking at progress. There's also a way of looking at it, it's like, are you increasing your mental toughness? Are you drawing more wherewithal from your players when adversity hits, or you're on the losing side of things like that. Yeah, it's all very subjective in my opinion, based on what exactly you're trying to like accomplish and what exactly you're tracking.
Do you have any goals like for the season, or personal goals?
I think my personal goal is just to be as happy as I can in the role that I'm in. Assistant coach for Lake Forest Academy, assistant athletic director. I see that in the short term. In the long term, it's like being the best possible coach and leader or mentor that I can be for high school age kids. If we're talking about my players, I want to make sure that all of them that want to strive for playing at the next level get there in whatever level that is. Or if they're just trying to become a better high school basketball player, I'm going to be there for them as well. Because as I said earlier in the podcast, everyone deserves the same treatment. Everyone deserves to be cared for. So whatever you're trying to accomplish personally, we'll get you there.
I think it's good. And so the next, like, what would be advice to the players and parents?
I think the best thing for players and parents is communication is key between players, coaches, parents, mentors, whoever is in the basketball atmosphere that you're currently in. Be okay with making mistakes, because I say this phrase probably like 10 times a week, even outside of basketball. Failure leads to experience, and experience leads to you not making the same mistake again. So being okay with messing up in practice. It's practice at the end of the day. Like some of our high level players, they miss shots and they get down on themselves. I'm like, what are you upset about? You're supposed to miss shots now. This is practice. You miss shots now so you don't miss them in the game. And those are my main things. Being okay with a quote unquote minor setback, because a minor setback is going to lead to a major comeback.
Since you mentioned that, and like the higher level you go, the more mental games becomes. How would you suggest to train mental aspect of the game? I mean, you mostly with the high school players, right? So how would you suggest high school players to get better at the mental aspect?
I would say the best way to train mental toughness is to be punched in the face, not physically, but philosophically.
I got excited.
Yeah, that one too. Be punched in the face, lose as many games, just be brought down as much as you can, but also think about it in a way that those are things that will lead to you being built up. I've been on the losing end of quite a few games, coaching, playing. I've gotten smoked before. I've gotten absolutely ran out of the gym. But also, I've done that to certain players. I've done that to certain teams and me coaching.
Like Tommy Moffitt 1-on-1?
Yeah, seriously. That gave me all the confidence in the world.
Ran you out of the gym.
Yeah, seriously.
Out of the program.
Yeah.
Done playing.
But I think gain as many failing experiences as you can, because you'll learn from them. You'll hopefully not experience that again, so that way it leads to success in the future.
Yeah, you got to get into Modern Warfare 2 lobbies. They really bring you down. So
Yeah, that's why I don't play video games.
You can't get
For
beat
my
up in
mental well-being.
Pokemon a lot.
Yeah, seriously.
You cannot lose in it. Where do you most belong, you think?
In the gym.
That's fair.
I think it's just wherever people are trying to build each other up, care for each other, make sure that everyone is on the same page about things. I think that those ideas can be put into any sort of business, family, life, athletic situations that you can think of. Because at the end of the day, like, people should be trying to get the most out of what they're doing. And the only way that you're going to do that is just making sure you care about what's going on and finding the best and most efficient way of carrying yourself.
What are the most things you worry about before games or practice? Like, what do you think you're nervous that can go wrong?
It's a tough thing to answer, but I think just right off the top of my head, probably if my guys just aren't ready to go, if my guys are just...
So you worry you didn't prepare them right.
Yeah. Or if they're just already prepared to lose. So lacrosse. Yesterday, we played against Lakes Community High School. And Lakes Community High School, one of their main sports is lacrosse. Like, they're a very good lacrosse team. And I think us getting scored on 5 times in the first 4 minutes of the game, which is insane, it kind of just prepared our guys to lose. And, like, they kind of just mailed in the towel. And I got on them about it. And granted, again, I don't know much about lacrosse. I know things about winning and carrying yourself, though. So those are messages I tried to convey to them. It's just like, there's no reason to hang your head right now. There's no reason to, like, tuck your tail between your legs. We still have a good 36 minutes left of this game. It is like something can happen. Granted, we ended up getting smoked that game, but we also learned how to not lose in, like, a non-competitive way. So
Lakes and great community, great high school.
yeah, I'm sure.
just wait for Nico.
You got anything?
No, we'll probably get to the question where every time we have somebody leave a question for the next person. And DJ Morris was our last guest, and his question was, what is the last thing that is on your bucket list?
That's a tough question, DJ. I don't know. I guess, like, my immediate answer, because I always think about this and it's always a goal, is to be happy. I think whatever that you are trying to do throughout your life, for me, it's coaching basketball, being successful in my job, being, like, good with what I'm doing outside of those things. It all leads to the general idea of happiness. I think if we're talking about something more tangible, I'd love to go visit Antarctica. I think that'd be pretty sick.
Yeah, it is. That would be the last thing on your bucket list.
Yeah,
you go there, it's over.
Yeah, seriously.
It froze.
And also, it's like, for some reason, a lot of it's just blocked off. And I'm like, what you guys got going on over there?
That's, you're not going to find out.
Yeah, well, I could if it's the last thing on my bucket list.
The last famous words.
Yeah. So philosophically, to be happy, physically, go to Antarctica.
Yeah. What question would you want to ask for the next guest?
What does a successful, compassionate, and happy person look like to you?
That's interesting. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
No, I think we covered all the bases. I really enjoyed this because at the end of the day, I'm just talking to 2 people who I consider close friends of mine, and
Dylan.
yeah.
And thousands of others.
And kind of just talking about things that we love to do and things that we strive for and how we're trying to help people out at the end of the day. And I mean, I guess the last thing that I could say is like, one thing I always tell the guys at LFA, and Elijah told me this will be his senior quote, and I wonder if he's holding himself to it, is hold the door open. And in a physical sense, if you are walking into like a door or walking through a doorway and you can hold it open for people, you should wait for the last person to get through. But also in like a philosophical way, starting to sound like Jan here, right. Making sure that as successful as you are and you strive to be, you're bringing the people around you with you. So that goes the same with like the care and compassion for others, and making sure everyone's there with you, because you can't do things on your own.
That's pretty cool. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Dmitry. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Oh my